Holy smokes, we are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends if you want to support this rebel outpost. If you want to support the home for the true college football sickos with a donation to help us keep the lights on, hit that $sign where you make your comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. We are going to we're gonna go back into discussing a little bit more about private equity. Why have I chosen tonight to talk a little bit more about private equity? Because some doors have been opened to us here at Peek Around the Corner on this very subject. Just recently, last week, and I'm going to be able to talk about it in the open. There's going to be a lot of vagueness to it, unfortunately. Unfortunately, there's a million details we do not know, but we understand the motivation. We believe we understand the motivation. I want to start out by saying this. Last year, we did, 4 or 5 live shows talking about the invasion of private equity coming into college sports. We're way out ahead, way out ahead. This is college football's peak around the corner. We also made it real clear. We didn't know when this thing was coming in. We didn't know what level it was coming in first. And to be honest with you, we still don't. I repeated that over and over and over again. And I also said, we at Peek Around the Corner do not believe anything is going to pop officially until after the House NCAA settlement. Well, that's been settled. It's been approved. And now we've getting reports that there may be a couple, 2 to 6 schools at a school level that might be kind of, getting a private capital deal done with Elevate, kind of like a credit line to help build up some possible premium seating or luxury suites, whatever, that they can get it built, get it turned, and then the private Elevate will get a piece of that money in the years ahead. We've also heard reports about, of course, Brett Yormark looking at private equity at a conference level. We've also heard reports about the AAC. Today or yesterday, there was a report about the Sun Belt. We've also heard about the SEC talking to Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs has investments in many private equity firms. And we heard about the Big Ten. We've heard about the Big Ten. The last report, public report, that they had met with 4 private equity firms during the Big Ten spring meetings. Of course, Silent Tony was not open to questions in front of the microphone. I do want to start out. We need to start off with something here. I am not going to. We are not hedging our plays here at Peek Around the Corner. We have been told unequivocally that private equity is going to happen. Let me be more specific. Private equity is going to happen eventually, for the Big Ten. Let me start off by saying that, because now I got a lot of you guys saying, oh, Greg, you are absolutely nuts. Your cheese has slipped off your cracker. These public universities, they can't get involved in anything like this. And look, we don't know what type of deal it's going to end up being. We don't know what type of deals it's going to end up being. We don't know if it's going to be a private equity firm having a sort of private capital deal, or is it a private equity firm owning a percentage of the conference? But don't rule that last one out. No. And I'll explain why here in a moment. We don't know what type of deals this is going to be. So I don't know if you want to be able to, if you're going to be able to classify it as ownership of a conference, true private equity, or is it going to be private capital? But I want to make this clear. We do think eventually ownership of a conference of the Big Ten is going to happen. I don't think anyone else is saying that. But we believe that to be true. I also want to make this perfectly clear. The Big 12 and other conferences, as the reports come out that they've hit the pause button, these are not no's. These are, it's not primed yet. It's not ready yet. We haven't gotten a deal yet. Or we don't know how big we want this to be yet. We don't know if we want to start off smaller yet. We don't know who wants to be involved yet. It's a yet type of thing. It's not a no. I would not be surprised either way about the Big Ten's decision on private equity. We don't know those firms. PATC does not have information on those firms. That's probably all locked away, NDA, whatever. We do know a firm, and I'm not going to even say the name of that. There's a firm, we do know there's a firm out there that had interest in both the Big 12 and the Big 10. And I don't think that firm has gotten, they were not part of the presentation in the Big 10 spring meetings. And I don't know how far they've gotten with the Big 12. But that's not one of the, that was not one of the four firms. And I'm not even going to say their name. Not in this live show. But we have been told the motivations. The clear motivations. And that is what we're going to talk about today. This is going to be a very simple show. I would consider this live show something to like a long, not too long, but a long cloak and dagger, peek around the corner, members only episode type of show. But I did not want to, this one is, when we did those live shows early last fall about the invasion of private equity, I wanted to give everybody a peek. And we didn't know how it was going to come in. We still don't know, but I wanted to give everybody a peek that this was going to be the major storyline in 2025. We can give you more of a peek. We don't have all the answers. We don't have all the questions, but we do. There was a couple of doors open to us. And I am not burning any bridges tonight. I would never do that. I always want to be able to harvest the field over and over and over again. So what I say tonight, I can say it. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I completely understand why a lot of you are going to say, Greg, your cheese has slipped off your cracker. I get it. I remember that just the thought, just putting it out there on X, that USC was going to join the Big Ten. It was out of the people. It was out of the majority. It was out of the minds of like 90% of college football fans that could even be a possibility, because USC was not in a contiguous state, way out there. I mean, I got absolutely crushed. Absolutely crushed. Because it was so outside of the box. Now it's like, no big deal. I mean, the Big 12 is a national conference. Big Ten is a national conference, a lot of miles being traveled. In particular, the Big Ten and the SEC and the Big 12 and the ACC might have some aspirations toward this as well. But the Big Ten and the SEC are looking at something to the tune of that. They're looking at something much, much bigger. And they don't have the expertise to make it happen. They don't have the access. They don't have the connections. They don't have the tools. Big Ten being able to get money? Sure. The SEC be able to get money? Sure. Can the individual schools bring on more money in all different ways? Sure. But that is not what this is about. It's about something much, much bigger. I brought up the picture here of Goldman Sachs. I want to start out with Goldman Sachs. I want to talk about Goldman Sachs. I'll give you a little tease about Goldman Sachs before we do our roll call, because I do appreciate all of you joining us early on a Thursday, June 19th evening. I do appreciate it. We are on later than usual here at Peek Around the Corner. Goldman Sachs has a sports division. Goldman Sachs has investments, well, all over the place, right? Investments in private equity firms, just all over the place. Goldman Sachs does a lot of acquisitions and mergers, or they consult in acquisitions and mergers. Goldman Sachs was the prime driver. They had another partner, but they were a prime driver in trying to establish the Premier League. Super League, Premier League, the Super League in football, in soccer, in Europe. Remember that failed attempt to create the Super League? Goldman Sachs was the prime driver of that. Let's do our roll call, and we're going to get into it on our show. Private equity is coming to college sports, college athletics. It's happening, period. Steel Austin is in the house. Jose is here. The Buckeye, Caleb Ramirez, Ryan Thomas, Private Equity Cheese. AMAC is here. Bill G is in the house. Bill G is in the house. John Dry, Doug Steinhauser. Nice to see Doug back in here. CFB Plus, good evening. PATC, good evening. CFB Plus, the Osceola Trucker, is in the house. He's a fellow sicko. Bob Swanger is here. David Allison, Bobby Hansen, go Hawks. Al Woody is in the house. Jay Chapman, Nick Kelso, Tim Bells. Let's do this thing. The Big Gun Shop. Cranky Tiger is in the house. John Dry is here. Stephen Vitt had a calzone for dinner. Laura Weiss, the Red Raider, is in the house. Oh my goodness. Gorb, MBM, out in the shop but listening. Go Pokes. Edward Douglas Ministries is in the house. JIT is here. What is a meatless burger? I love a burger. I love a burger. Just don't put cheese on it. I love a grilled cheese. Just don't put meat on it. Daniel Gorby is in the house. Daniel Gorby, the Edward, the Auburn Tiger, is here. Stephen McNeely, he made it in. He made it in. The BYU Cougar. Great phone call last night. Kenneth Stromness is in the house. Bimba 7579. Not a traditional private equity where private companies get an ownership in a school or a conference. Not a school, a conference. There's a potential of an ownership of a conference. But just let me lay out a couple of doors have been opened to us here at Peek Around the Corner. We'll talk about it. We will talk about it. Karan Shakar is in the house. Stephen Vitt is here. Humbo, Bumble, Duck is here. Bo Weevo, Skaven, yes. Dallas Marquez, Stormy Cyclone. Stormy Cyclone is in the house. Outlaw Skis, go Buckeyes. Justin Lucas, any news on the Pac-12 tomorrow? No, I don't know. I don't have any news. Let me know if you have any news, Justin. I do not have any news. Chris G is here. Taytown Hawks, Super League failed when the fans revolt. Need to phone Swarm, Tony, and Greg. The architect is in the house. Okay. Outlaw Skis, cool down on the spamming. Cool down on the spamming. Don't spam the board. The only news I have is the House and Senate in North Carolina are far apart on the budget. Means no money for UNC and North Carolina State in the meantime. They'll get it worked out. They'll get it worked out, Justin. You got to get in there and work it out. They'll get something. CFB Plus says Texas State does not have a BOR Board of Regents meeting scheduled for any time soon. Interesting. No problem, Outlaw Skis. No problem. Thomas is in the house. Okay, let's get to it. I'm just gonna talk here. We had a couple doors open to us, and when that happens, and I get the essential okay, we're gonna talk about it. I think it's going to become, now this is my guess. I think people are going to become more attuned. We're going to talk Southeastern Conference first. I think we're going to become more attuned to the Southeastern Conference's vision 10 years out from now. We've been poking and prodding about that Netflix series that is going to be happening either in July or August on Netflix pertaining to the SEC, the Southeastern Conference. Right now, as far as I know, it is not listed as a new documentary in the month of July. But I could be wrong. We were told that it was done. The person who spoke to us, the documentary on the SEC goes over the 2024 season. That's out in public. It doesn't go through every SEC team because not every SEC team gave permission. I got a feeling that's not going to happen again. We have been told from somebody in the media that it was top-notch level stuff. It was, I think it's 8 series, eight episodes, and I think that's out in public. And I think it's like 45 minutes long. I think that's out in public. So none of that is a door wasn't open to us and told that to us. Box to Box. This is also out in public. Box to Box is the production company. That's also out in public. Cranky Tiger. This is what I'm talking about. They already had a documentary on the SEC. This is going to be Chris G. Yeah, the documentary is basically daily coverage on ESPN. Okay, so, but there's a difference. That is a beautiful segue. That is a beautiful segue to what I'm about to say here. Yeah, the documentary is basically the daily coverage on ESPN. But the SEC wants more. They are being told that they can have more reach, bigger reach, a stronger reach, a more profitable reach. The NFL has spent the last 20 years going into Europe. The Premier League has spent the last 12 years getting into the America market, the United States of America market. And now the money is coming in hand over fist. This is an incredibly profitable and growing market for the Premier League. So what the SEC wants to do is they want to become a more global brand. The Southeastern Conference, the institutions are beginning to use the Southeastern Conference, the SEC, in all their academic and research branding. They have begun that. It's all over the place. They want to become a more international, global brand. They need the access. They need the expertise. They need to begin the branding and the marketing of SEC. And this Netflix documentary is the first small salvo into doing what they're looking at doing. The SEC, the Southeastern Conference, is not having a meeting with Goldman Sachs to get a loan. They're not meeting with Goldman Sachs to get a line of credit. All these institutions can do that on their own, but these institutions cannot tap into markets without help, new markets. Now, a lot of you guys are probably saying, Greg, you're absolutely crazy. I'm not. It's the SEC. It's the Big Ten. We'll get to the Big Ten next. But the SEC, The SEC, the Southeastern Conference, are being told things from monster money out there. Just like the Big 12 and the ACC, they're being told you are you are not getting the value you deserve. There's way more value in your already established brand. You need, and this is my words. This is my words. You need to get to a different shelving in Walmart. You should not be RC Cola. You should be Coca-Cola. And we can take you there. We are going to give you the access into new markets, and they're going to love your product. Now, we've talked about this before, just a little bit, and I've kind of scoffed at it. But we were told at Peek Around the Corner, it wasn't just me that was being told this. We had a couple of BTM and associates being told some stuff. It was wild. This is an SEC part of it. They have already tested the market out there in the world, especially mostly in Europe. I know this sounds crazy, but they've already done some stuff out there. They've already had some sort of, what do you call that? A market test. They tested the market. When the NFL, the NFL is just growing and growing and growing and growing in Europe. When the SEC, somebody representing the SEC showed SEC football to some potential, to people out there in untapped markets, they kind of woke up to it. Like, what is this? What is this, all this passion, this celebration, this pageantry, everything that we love about college football? The SEC wants to grow to untapped markets. It's going to be slow. They can't do it on their own. It's not going to be ESPN driven. ESPN is going to remain a partner, their main partner, most likely. But this meeting with Goldman Sachs is not about meeting obligations to a $20.5 million rev share. It's about exploring opportunities to grow the SEC. We're talking about the following: globalization of media. We have gone from the economics of consolidation to the globalization of media. The SEC wants to start getting the SEC brand out everywhere. Everywhere. Pacific Rim, everywhere. The documentary on Netflix is going to be out on Netflix globally. It's not going to be just people in Minnesota, people in Alabama, people in Mississippi, people in Florida, people in California. That is out globally. That's out in public. They got the deal done globally. Box to Box was the production company, and I guess they are famous for doing a lot of other documentary work when it comes to sports. Bruin Capital just invested in Box to Box. You've got private capital firms, equity firms investing in box to box films. Netflix is all over Europe and Asia. Yeah, it's all over the place. And this SEC documentary it was part of the deal. It's everywhere. It's going to be shown everywhere. South Korea, everywhere. Just their first salvo. The Big Ten. Now, again, I'm gonna make you got to hear me out here. If I wanted to watch an SEC documentary, I'd just watch ESPN. I love those comments because this is why the SEC is doing this. Netflix has a global reach. You know my family in Mexico? My family in Mexico, Mexico City, my wife's family, our family. I'll give you an example. I got a brother-in-law down there, Isaac, who spent some time with me, lived with me and my wife early in our marriage, whatever, and he had to go back home, take care of his mother, and he got married down there. He decided to stay down there. He's a big American sports fan. Big American sports fan. But there's a lot of stuff he can't watch. No access. Literally no access. Even just being one country down from us, Mexico. Phone, there is a lot of stuff he just can't get. Anyway, so SEC needs to partner with Starlink for worldwide streaming. Okay, let's go in the Big Ten. I get it. I get this. This is hard because obviously those untapped markets are not going to be this big time revenue generator at first. You need muscle to invest in it. The NFL did not start off blazing in Europe, but I'm telling you, this is where it's going. This is what the SEC is being. That's what they're talking about with Goldman Sachs. The door has been opened to PATC. They're not talking to Goldman Sachs about a line of credit. They're not. They don't need to. They're trying to build a bridge. They're trying to get expertise. They're trying to get all the connections that Goldman Sachs has. It's why Goldman Sachs opened up a sports division, not for just the SEC, of course, but a couple of years ago. They're not looking at just being a conference in the Southeast that is the most valuable conference in the country. They are, but now they're looking to do what the Premier League did, the NFL, the NBA, all these sports leagues have gone global. All of them. And they've made money doing it. And I know it's tough to look at a college conference and say, you're not even professional. Well, you're not amateur anymore. They want their brands out there. They want their schools everywhere. They want those students, those foreigners. They want to push. The SEC brand is so damn valuable in this country. And they want to ship it overseas. That's what this is about. But let me make something else clear. I am not saying the SEC is going to make some private equity deal done in the next 4 months, next 6 months. We do not know. We're going to talk about the Big Ten. I was going on a Big Ten thing, but I will get to the Big Ten in a moment. But I don't know. We do not know at Peek Around the Corner. But we've been told why they're having the meetings with Goldman Sachs and likely others. And before I start talking about the Big Ten, because people are going to take my words and do whatever they want with them, but I would not be shocked if Silent Tony or somebody representing the Big Ten, because it probably won't come out of Silent Tony's mouth. It would not surprise me if somebody comes out of the Big Ten and says, we looked at these private equity companies, these presentations, and at this moment, we've decided we're going to hit the pause button. Would not surprise me a lick. It also wouldn't surprise me that they decide to do something. Either way, we don't know. But we've been told it's going to happen. Absolutely going to happen. It's happened everywhere. Everywhere. And this is different now. This is college sports. These are public universities, right? A lot more challenging, but these type of monster deals is going to come through at the conference level. And that mitigates a lot of the issues. The Big Ten has recently become they went from a one-region conference to a two-region conference with Jim Delaney. And now they are a national conference. The Big Ten is looking to do the same thing that the Southeastern Conference is doing. They take their Big Ten brand and go global. We have been told the door was open to us, that they know what the SEC is doing. The SEC knows what the Big Ten is doing. And they want to take it global. They want to push their brand. And they need the expertise. They need those that have connections globally. Whatever deal they ultimately strike, be it a year from now or 1 day from now, we believe their partner is going to be somebody with a global reach. We've talked about the Big 12 a lot. I'll get back to the Big 10. I'm not done with the Big 10. We talked about the Big 12 a lot, and we tried to explain at Peek Around the Corner what was in it for the Big 12 to explore private capital, private equity deal. The cash, sure. But what they were really looking for was leverage. For the next media rounds, for the next media negotiations, the Big 12 wanted to establish a relationship with a private equity, with some major private equity streaming company combination to be able to have leverage over their traditional media partners, ESPN and Fox. To have something where they can have more reach, potentially globally, but to have more leverage in the negotiations. Something that the Pac-12 was not prepared to do when they went into the negotiations with ESPN and Fox after the Big 12 swooped up and took their exposure away from them. The Big 12 is not going to be caught in that same position. So it's not just about the cash. It's about the connections that this firm would have. The new sponsorships, but connections with a major streaming platform, all that stuff. This is what the Big Ten's looking at. The Big Ten is looking at a global outreach. Now, they already have it. Of course, we know that. They've got partnerships. All these conferences, all these schools have some sort of international partnership. But we're talking at a level much, much, much higher. Big Ten athletics, global outreach. One of the many reasons they went out and got Los Angeles. One of the many reasons they went and got Washington. Global outreach. If you look at the potential of conference expansion, now, one of the factors, and we've talked about this before, but now this door has been opened, wide open to us. You've always had the factor of your media partners. What do they want? What are they willing to pay for? And then you've had the university presidents. Who do they want to bring in to be a partner in their conference? Right? And there's always been that, trying to figure out the right blend to be able to satisfy everybody. Going forward, if we're going to talk about conference expansion, and it's going to happen again, even with the SEC and the Big Ten, it's going to happen again. Now, one of those factors in figuring out who you want to bring in as a conference mate, a conference partner, one of the factors is who is going to be our muscle, our connection, our firm, our expertise in global outreach. What universities are going to be an asset to that pursuit? So that's going to play a factor in all this going forward. We have been told a million times, and I have said this a million times, when it comes to conference realignment in the Power Four, nothing is imminent. But I've been trying to be clear on that every single week. Even with the massive victory in the courts by Florida State and Clemson, even though it's only going to cost $175, and I say only because $165. Still, nothing is imminent. We've been told that one of the reasons nothing is imminent is because Big Ten and the SEC are looking to bring on, eventually, another partner. Just like the NBA franchises have brought on another partner. Many of them, just like the NFL franchises, have brought on another partner, minority partner. The Big Ten and the SEC are looking to bring on a partner. Exactly what type of deal is it going to be? Is there going to be percentage of ownership? That is becoming more likely, as crazy as that sounds. These conferences are looking at something much bigger. the competition for foreign students. We talked about the apocalypse that is going on, the student apocalypse in the United States, and it is absolutely true. There's a couple of articles out there. I've had people, PATC family members, I appreciate you guys keeping your head on a swivel. I've had a couple of you show me articles about Syracuse, for one example. They're basically trying to buy students, trying to give money to people to apply. The thirst for more students, the competition for more students across the country, even when it comes to the biggest universities, is going to be something else. And of course, the front porch of your university, your athletic department, your athletic teams, especially your basketball programs and your football program, is the greatest marketing tool that you can have. And the SEC and the Big Ten are going to push it. They're going to push it globally. And they need help. They need expertise. They need access. That is why the Southeastern Conference had a talk with Goldman Sachs, and maybe they've had many of them. This is why Mr. Silent Tony has been so aggressive in talking with private equity firms. This is why Ross Dellinger, in his public report, talked about the potential Big Ten selling off a percentage of their conference. They might not do it at first. They might only sell off a couple percent. Who knows how they're going to do this? We don't know. But I'm telling you guys, gals, we have been told the door is wide open to us. And it was said, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Every really intensive, every popular sport out there, every popular sport endeavor, every professional league, they eventually go to untapped markets, and they get there by using the expertise of others. A commissioner, these presidents, they don't have the expertise. They're going to get somebody who has that. Somebody who can start off saying, this big sponsor over here, that's where we're heading. Who needs students anymore? All you need are big money boosters. Yeah, you need students. You need students. Where's the cheeseburger? PATC is a sports version of CNN. Private equity also comes in handy if you spin off a sport or two away from a university's athletic department. And that's a whole nother avenue on this. Foreign students pay full price. Yes, and you know what? One of these live shows, I'm gonna introduce those articles coming out talking about Syracuse. But anyways, yes, there is a mad dash for connecting more with foreign students. That's all a part of this. You know what they're gonna? This documentary on the SEC. Now, we were told some parts of it. Now, remember, some of this was told to us by a person in media. This is going to be quite the show. We've been told this was This is going to be quite the show. Box to Box Films produced it. And it's going to have a lot of inside stuff. It's going to be, a lot of it is going to be like locker room. It ain't going to be the games themselves, obviously. That content is owned by ESPN. We're talking about pre-game practices, the blood and guts of it all, the fans. A lot of it is going to be on the passion, the pageantry, the history. A lot of it is going to be on the SEC fans. And it is going to be one big commercial. Huge. Just the first salvo. The first salvo by SEC. Wait till you see how many foreign players on the basketball court this coming year. Does this mean PATC is going global? No, unfortunately, we remain the most unpopular college football YouTube channel in the country. Because of shows like this, by the way. Okay, so let's talk more about the Big Ten. C. John. So the SEC is taking your Mark's idea for private capital and international branding growth and are running with it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they took your Mark's idea. This is... Again, I want to make this clear because it was made clear to us. It doesn't matter that your Mark was told. It doesn't matter that the Big 12 paused. I mean, it matters, but it's not a no. It's not. If the Big Ten, if tomorrow we all wake up and the big news is that the Big Ten has said no to these 4 private equity firms, that's big news. But it's not going to be a no forever. It just means that they're not, they want to see something else, not quite ready, whatever. You know what? I don't blame anybody, especially those who are not watching this live show. I don't blame anybody for saying, well, that's it for private equity. It ain't going to happen. Man, it is coming. Especially the way this is not, I'm not ripping on, at least this moment, I'm not ripping on Greg Sankey or the Southeastern presidents. I'm not ripping on Tony Petitti. He's a very smart guy. I mean, I rip on the guy, but not for this. Very smart guy. He knows the media. He knows sport live content. This is what he knows. This is what he is. This is Tony Petitti right here. He knows. He's been told. And I think he's a believer in that the Big Ten can go completely global. It doesn't mean they're going to get a bunch of you think the Premier League, I mean, their ratings, what they are now in the United States of America, their ratings, the money they get through sponsorship in America, the advertisers, the ratings, the T-shirts, the what do they call them? The fits or the jerseys. There's another name for it. All that money in the United States of America for the Premier League here in 2025 is substantially bigger than what it was when the Premier League started to get into this market in 2013. We are talking about the Southeastern Conference vision 10 years from now. We're talking about the Big Ten Conference vision 10 years from now. And I'm sure same thing with the Big 12 and the ACC. But those doors were not open to me. This is real. Like I was flat out, this is going to happen. It might take a year. It might take a while. Especially what's going on, all this crazy stuff that's going on in college sports. But this, they want the NFL is hot in many, many places in Europe. Hot. And they think they can get Big Ten, SEC, other college football in the global world because they don't get it anywhere else. It's just the NFL. They think that's going to get all eaten up. And that value is going to pour in to these conferences in the United States. And they need help. They need help to go from RC Cola to Coca-Cola. They need that help to get their advertising, the brand out there in these global markets. And there's going to be different avenues to get it done other than, more than what the SEC and the Big Ten pose. Everybody has needed it. Everybody has gone into private equity to get it done. Mountaineer Memes. Hey, Greg, I've been ordering burgers without cheese, but I did have some Skyline chili yesterday. You were doing good, Mountaineer Memes. You were doing good, but then you slipped off the wagon. You slipped off. Kit. Jonathan Price, you probably know this. You're a smart man. I've known you for a long time. The Premier League in 2025 in this market, and I'm talking this market, the United States of America market. Come on, it has grown to such an all that money is going, that Premier League, those contracts, those players. There's huge money here. There's huge money over there. That's why the NFL has done what they've done. That's why they've gone into Europe. It's all the same thing, guys. NBA going into Mexico, the South America market, the Asian Pacific Rim. It's globalization of media, and the Big Ten and the SEC are on the march. This is the start of it. This is not, it might start as, okay, we take this cash and it helps us with rev share, whatever. But that's not what this is. The SEC did not meet with Goldman Sachs because Auburn needs a new popcorn stand. Whatever. It ain't, that's not what this is not what this is about. $65 days to week 0. Tech played in Japan 1 year against Barry. Yeah, Laura Weiss. I'm so glad you brought that up. You talk about Dublin, Ireland. Talk about Dublin, Ireland, just for a moment. Let's just talk about Dublin, Ireland. Let's just talk about it. How successful do you think Armageddon's going to be in Dublin, Ireland? It's going to be a raving success. Why do they think they keep going back to Dublin, Ireland? Ask the Georgia Tech people. Ask the Florida State people. A lot of Florida State people were at that game. It did not go too well for them, But the money that Dublin, Ireland loves the game. Why? Because it brings people coming in, bringing the money. That consistent outreach in Europe, college football, they love this stuff. The Big Ten and the SEC knows that. So does the Big 12 and the ACC. They are going global. And they need help. They need the expertise. They need the connections. And this is not something you should rip on these presidents or the commissioner, because sport leagues have done the exact same thing. And no one is expecting the Southeastern Conference, the Big Ten, the Big 12, the ACC to reach those levels of exposure and money and revenue like the NFL. Nobody's saying that. But people are telling the Southeastern Conference, big money sitting on the sidelines saying, what are you, crazy? Look at what you guys do every single Saturday. Look at the year-round drama of college football. Look at the year-round drama of the Southeastern Conference. Look at it. Everyone's going to get a good look at it in Netflix globally. We are going to export that around the world, and eventually, man, it is going to hit, and you are going to get more value. University of Florida, more and more people in South Korea, more and more people in Singapore are going to know about University of Florida Gators. More and more people are going to know about Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Georgia. I mean, it's going to hit at some point. And now the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten, when they're completely convinced they got the right deal, they're going to, we started off this show saying it's going to happen. Texas, you don't think, so do you think Dublin, Ireland is the only one that college football would be a smashing success? No. Do you think it should be only once a year? Nah. It ain't going to be like that. It's going to be more than once a year. And the SEC wants to control that. They want to have that SEC game out in Europe every single year. Same with the Big Ten. Most likely, same thing with the Big 12 and the ACC. This is why they're talking to these firms that have connections with a lot of sponsorship, right? A lot of sponsorship out there. I mean, we've talked about this before. Just look at the WWE. Why did they go with Netflix? I mean, why did they go with TKO? But why? Look at all the extra global outreach they have received. Look at all the extra sponsorship money that WWE has gotten. The SEC is not going to just stay in their sandbox. That's what's going on. Exactly, T-Town Hawk. Look, I know it sounds crazy. It's establishing markets. Yes, architect. I know it sounds crazy. Yes, Jason. I know it sounds crazy, and I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. And I knew it when that news report came out more. I know what's going to happen. What's going to happen is tomorrow morning, you're all going to wake up and you're going to find out that the Big Ten said no to all these private equity deals. Or they said yes, but it's a very small type of deal to begin with. That's a story. It's an important one that we're going to cover if it happens. If next week we find out, next month, but it's going to happen. That's the peak that we're giving you on June 19th. We're standing on it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. The Big Ten is, and then if you want, I mean, then we go into the subject of conference expansion. And most likely, even that is going to create conference expansion. And then you got to look at the markets, the universities that might help you when it comes to all of that. I don't know about that, CFB Plus. I don't know about adding on universities internationally. The NFL hasn't even done that yet. They have, what has happened is there are certain demographics in certain countries in Europe that have connected themselves to certain franchises in the NFL. You see all across the United States, clubs, fans, organizations, associations attached to premier teams in Europe. So you don't even have to add, Premier League don't have to add an American state to their Premier League. Globalization of the media. There are fans here that are Liverpool fans. They don't have to live in Liverpool. They are Liverpool fans. We talked about the Vikings, the Minnesota Vikings. They're one of the top 2 or 3 brands in Europe. They just are. They're not in the United States, but they are in Europe. Minnesota Vikings are always playing over there. They're going to play 2 times over there next year. Back-to-back weekends. Because the Vikings have this connection with Northern Europe and Vikings, Minnesota, the Norwegian, the Swedes, and it's just the way it is. You're gonna have if you export this product of college football like the NFL has been exported, you're gonna grow that fan base. You are gonna grow that brand. And that is going to connect you to sponsorship money you've never seen before. And it's called growth. And it ain't going to be done without help. It ain't going to be done without connections. It ain't going to be done without expertise. It's not. I talk about Goldman Sachs. I was told a lot about Goldman Sachs. They spearheaded that Super League. They were one of the 2 major firms that it failed because of backlash. But they were all in on that, man. They were all in on that. That was going to take lots of money. Remember that? They were going to have the money that was going to come in for those teams to join the Super League to buy themselves out. That was being pushed by private equity firms that Goldman Sachs was investing in. That was a major, major move. It did not work. But the SEC is not talking to Goldman Sachs because they're looking for a line of credit. They're not talking to Goldman Sachs, so Goldman Sachs can help Georgia put up new showers for the men's track and field team. Ask Red Lobster about private equity. Kalani L takes 2 hours to air a soccer game as the ball is almost always in play. You think Europeans are going to adopt a sport where the best games take place mostly after 11 p.m. and takes 3.5 hours to play? I don't know. I do know that the SEC has done some test market of it to a controlled group. We know that. And it came out real positive. You know, there are YouTube channels out there. If you go search, you can watch Europeans watch college football for like the very first time and see their reactions. There's YouTube channels out there. They love the NFL game. The NFL game is 3 hours and 15 minutes. So I don't know. Fox, CBS, NBC should partner with Sky Sports to broadcast Big Ten games in UK. They make a fortune. You know, that is probably part of the equation if all this material, well, it is going to materialize. Absolutely. Germany, France, Spain, Italy, college football can go anywhere, but let's not limit ourselves to just P4 doing it. Real Madrid to the 12, Big 12 confirmed. I have 3 really good friends that went to Texas and are diehard Texas football fans to this day. 20 years out of college, all are Indian. Okay, we're going to open up the phone lines. You can talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. I'm just going to go through. We did not do the Michigan State Spartans spotlight yesterday. We did not cover it yesterday. Shame on me. But Aiden Childs, the quarterback, I'm just going to do a quick spotlight on Michigan State Spartans. Aiden Childs. He had a pretty decent year last year, completing about 59% of his passes. Threw for over 2,000 yards. He was good, not great. They expect a big leap for him this year. The good news for Aiden Childs is he's got his number 1 receiver back, Nick Marsh. Very good wide receiver. Very good wide receiver. He's going to be his number 1 target again. Had over 40 catches in his first starting year of college football. So Marsh is a big-time wide receiver. Amari Kelly, the transfer from Middle Tennessee, had over 50 catches. He transfers to Michigan State. Jonathan Smith thinks he is a big find. I want to talk about Elijah Tolliver. Elijah Tolliver, the running back, Michigan State. He came from Sacramento State. He played about 4 years at Sacramento State. He finally got his chance to shine last year, and he shined. Now, this is a guy who had a playing back of Cam Scatterbo at Sacramento State. As you know, Cam Scatterbo went to Arizona State and became a big superstar, and Arizona State won the Big 12 championship and almost beat the Texas Longhorns. Elijah Tolliver now is going to be the number 1 back at Michigan State. And he has gone through a lot in his life. I'm rooting for the young man. But now in his last year of eligibility, he's going to be playing some Big Ten football. Elijah Tolliver, Michigan State. Malik Spencer, great safety. And they've got Jordan Hall, the linebacker. But that Malik Spencer, he probably... Now, there's a lot of good safeties in the Big Ten. So Malik Spencer is probably going to be second or third team all Big Ten. He's going to be the leader on defense. You've got the defensive coordinator, Joe Rossi. You guys know how much I love Joe Rossi. Michigan State is going to improve. No question about it. On offense and on defense. Last year, let's just say, this year I think they're going to sneak into a bowl game. Michigan State Spartans are going to become bowl eligible. A lot has to ride in Aiden Childs. A lot has to ride on who's going to help Nick Marsh. What is going to be the juice? Amari Kelly, is he going to be the guy? The defense is going to be a little bit better than last year. They've got a great punter. I forget the guy's name. A great, great punter. It was not an Iowa Hawkeye punter that led the Big Ten in punting average. It was a Michigan State punter. Forget the guy's name. Ecklenberg, something like that. Michigan State, Jonathan Smith. This has been your short spotlight for the Spartans going in to 2025. The phone lines are open. Give us a call. Bill G, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. Appreciate it so much. Matthew Carlson, Jason Spangler, Sam 8911, MG Sooner, and Nittany Lions 89. You've all been gifted a membership by Bill G, and it's incredible, legendary generosity to this channel. Please say thank you to Bill G. All of you, every single one of you are knighted cloak and dagger. Congratulations to becoming members of the Early Peak Cloak and Dagger. You can go watch our episodes. All the episodes, even the ones that are for members only, Early Peak Cloak and Dagger. Thank you, Bill G. I very much appreciate your generosity. Thank you so very, very much. The Pacers are up by 3 over the Thunder. The last Sacramento State running back did very well. Absolutely. Elijah Tolliver is a good one. But, we'll see. Europeans love college football game. There are several YouTube channels showing this. I will say this. One of the doors that were open to us is that the SEC has already tested the market. Like, you know how you get like I'm not an expert in this, but they have a controlled, they test it out in front of a certain number of people, right? You're kind of like polling the people. They watch the product, and it was all thumbs up. Now that probably, Morris, has to do with the influence of the NFL, right? So it's an untapped market. Just like Premier Soccer League looked at the United States as an untapped market. And now now they just got the spigot wide open on the United States market. And that money is flowing over there. Well, that's what the SEC and the Big Ten, that's why they're talking to these private equity firms. That's why they're talking to Goldman Sachs. This is why they're doing it. It doesn't mean it's going to happen like, none of this happens overnight. It ain't going to happen. This is a 10-year vision. What are we going to be looking like 10 years from now? What do we do? What do we need to do to get there? We need help to get there. We are a believer. There's untapped markets out there that we can push our brand, the SEC and the Big Ten. Now we need help to do it. Just like the NBA needed help. Just like the NFL. Expedition Greg, thank you so much for the gift and membership. KST You received a gift membership from Expedition Greg. When you get an opportunity, please say thank you to Expedition Greg. Please say thank you. Both of you are knighted, cloak and dagger. Thank you, Expedition Greg, for your generosity. Thank you so very much. Expedition Greg says the Big Ten will expand with Miami and Florida State. That could be the blend. That could end up being the blend, depending on a whole bunch of variables, could end up being the blend. Now you look at Miami. You look at Florida State. You look at the state of Florida. Obviously, the demographics would help Big Ten out a lot. You look at the potentiality of Florida State and Miami when it comes to international markets. You look at the city of Miami, right? You look at Inter Miami. You look at that soccer team, MLS, right? You look how internationally Miami is a city, international city. You look at Atlanta, right? You look at United Atlanta. You look how fast that brand has spread, and that's MLS, for God's sakes. You put Florida State, you put a Miami, you put a Georgia Tech, whatever it happens to be, you put that with the Big Ten, and you push it internationally, global markets. That is going to be part of the equation now. I'm trying to decide when, how we expand the conference, expand the brand. Absolutely. Daniel Gorby, absolutely. Lingus scored big by buying the right to the Dublin opening game. The Ireland Bureau of Tourism has made big bucks. Just off the Seminole fan base, they made big bucks. Are you kidding? And this, I don't know. I'm not, you guys know I'm a moron, right? Each and every one of you know I am a moron. Not only am I a moron, but I got about 2 quarters scratching together in my front pocket. I'm not a big finance guy. I don't know anything about it. I'm just relaying to you, fortunately, we are in a position to have doors open to us, and we were told this thing eventually is going to happen. You've got these big monster, these international firms, banks, investment banks, Goldman Sachs is one of them, who have investment with private equity, multiple private equity firms, and they're telling the SEC, what are you doing? What are you doing? You see the test market? You see what these guys, they're convinced. They're just because there hasn't been a deal struck doesn't mean, forget about that. It's not, the right deal hasn't happened. The timing hasn't been right, but it's going to happen. Those Ireland football games, that is just scratching the surface. Just scratching the surface. You don't think that the Florida State Seminole brand, when you guys invaded Dublin, you don't think that kind of spread a little bit in Ireland, just a little bit? Can you imagine a weekly broadcast of ACC football, or if the Florida State goes to SEC or the Big Ten, they get a contract written with a broadcaster in Ireland due to connections with some big monster streaming company or big monster firms, and you got Seminole football being played every week, or Georgia Tech Rambling Wreck, or Boston College in Ireland, and that little bit of evidence kind of shows you, holy smokes. That's what these conferences are. There is a lot of money coming into college football. There's a lot of money out there that should be coming in. But the conferences need the help to get into it. You need connections, investment, you need access. Okay, we are going to shut it down. We've been on the air for an hour and a half. I was planning to do the show a little bit more shorter time, but we were having some fun here. I appreciate you all coming on in. I appreciate Expedition Greg and Bill G for your generosity. Thank you so very much. I just wanted to do like a longer early peak cloak and dagger episode for everybody. Private equity is coming. I don't know when. Don't know when. I wish I did, guys. I don't know when. I don't know how. I don't know how the deal is going to be constructed. I don't know if it's going to be small and it gets bigger. Most of these things happen small and they grow and grow and grow and grow. But the SEC and the Big Ten, the Big Ten talking to 4 equity firms when they presented their deals, and the SEC talking about Goldman Sachs isn't just about the cash. No, it ain't. It's talking about pushing their brand globally. Globalization of the media. That's what this is about. So I want to thank you guys, Bill G, everybody. Thank you. Keep your head on a swivel. Doing a live show tomorrow talking about the South Carolina Gamecocks. That is going to be our spotlight team tomorrow. The South Carolina Gamecocks. Can they get to the college football playoffs? I think they can. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to end up a little short. I think they lost too much defensive talent in the NFL draft. I could be wrong, but this year I'm Greg the Gold. So I don't think I'm going to be wrong. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, y'all take great care of each other. Thank you so